Hey guys, thanks for tuning into Naturally IE for the second segment of my natural hair journey. My name is Aisha, and we're going to start today with my transition story, and then I'll go over my top 10 tips for surviving the long transition. Okay, in my last video, we ended with Relaxer November. I really had no issues taking care of my hair up until my trip to Barbados. The two hair types, natural and relaxed, did not like the salt water, and I was not ready for the struggle that was coming my way. I got it together when I came back and straightened my hair one more time in May 2014. I also started my natural hair research and was ready to try new products and styles. The mini video to follow just shows how little growth I had after 7 months. The products I used from childhood were okay for my relaxed hair, but my thick, natural hair was not having it. You can see how bone straight my ends were and how straggly they looked when wet. Definitely not cute. Over the next few months, I pretty much stuck to twists and Bantu knot outs. There were a lot of failures in that time, but I learned that a product combination that works for twists may not work for curl formers. I had to learn how my hair adapted to different styles of products and how to apply those products in different styles. Not to mention how crucial it is to learn the difference between a smoothie, a yogurt, and even a whip, and all the other foodie sounding products, hair products in between. I had to become a master of my own hair. I learned to love my hair. Eventually, I realized my hair looked best after a Bantu knot out, and that was the style I was going to try to perfect. Then I started to play with different styles. At that point in my life, I was ready to go out to parties again, so you know I had to try the fur hawk with the Bantu knot out. In between those times, I would stretch my hair just to get length measurements and see the state of my hair when it wasn't up in a bun. In March 2015, I was ready to straighten my hair one last time before I chopped off the remaining relaxed ends. Don't mind me talking in this mini video. I just wanted to show how I sealed my relaxed ends. To maintain my straight hair for a few days, I lightly hydrate my hair with leave-in conditioner and seal with the Oyen handmade burnt sugar pomade as shown. Look at the shine. Yes. By the end of March, I could not take it anymore, so I chopped. Thank you for watching my transition journey, and stay tuned for my top 10 tips for a smooth transition back to natural.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in for my top 10 tips on how to survive the long transition. My name is Aisha, and I just want to come on here and just give you some tips on how to get you through this process, because it is definitely not easy. Whether you are transitioning like me from relaxed to natural hair, or if you're transitioning from heat or color damage back to healthy hair, there are definitely some tips on here that will come in handy. Whether you're doing a long transition or you are doing the big chop, you're going to go through a massive change, and it's going to be difficult. So therefore, my number one tip is to be mentally ready. Understand that this is a transitional period. This will not last forever. At any point in time, there are different techniques that you can use to make it easier for yourself. But just know that going into this, there will be some days that some people are gonna talk behind your back. They're gonna comment on your hair. People are gonna talk because they don't understand the process that you're going through. Two is to not be afraid to try new products. Sometimes we know how to take good care of our hair, but the products that we use aren't as hydrating or as moisturizing for our hair as we were led to believe. So along with this tip, I also suggest definitely learning to read product labels, read the ingredient list, just like you would go to the supermarket and read the ingredients for, I don't know, like dressing or whatever. You also want to look at the ingredients on the products that are going into your hair. Products that you can easily read and understand what's in this bottle is probably going to be a lot better for your hair. So my third tip on the list is to do your research. Product junkiism is a real thing. Trust me. There's nothing worse than emptying your bank account on a bunch of products, especially if half of those products, 75% of those products, don't really work on your hair. I suggest finding naturals here on YouTube or across whatever medium it is that you're using. Find a natural that has a hair type similar to yours and watch what they use. Find out what their holy grails, their staple products are, and pick up, a couple of those products. See if they work for you. So that's why doing your research, making sure that you know what kind of hair you have is so important. It's not just about the curl pattern, whether you're coily, kinky, curly, or wavy. It's not just about that. It's what your porosity, are you high or low? Whether your hair is fine or coarse. All of these factors are things that help you to understand what kind of moisture your hair is willing to receive, which makes transitioning, which makes the natural hair care process, I can't even put into words how much easier it is once you know all of these things about your own hair. Speaking of moisture, keeping our hair hydrated. This brings us to tip number 4. We want to moisturize, 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 and you better get used to it now when you're transitioning, because natural hair absolutely hates to be dry. Moisture is so key to surviving the long transition. It really deserves its own segment, its own video on moisturizing all in itself, and I probably will do that on how to properly moisturize at some point in time, so watch out for that. Anyways, let me break it down like this. So it's this is a really simplified way to explain how Moisturize affects curlies, but essentially what happens is our scalp releases a natural oil called sebum, and what happens is this oil is released down the hair strand. For straight-haired people, the reason that their hair looks so shiny most of the time is because it's easy for the oil to travel down the length of the hair. Think about it, it's a straight line, it goes from root to tip. But for curly-haired people, for coily-haired people, for kinky-haired people, because we have turns in the coil, it's harder for the oil to make it down the end the same way that it would for somebody with straight hair. Therefore, our ends look drier, feel drier, all that jazz. We definitely want to find a moisturizer that doesn't just sit on top of the hair, but actually penetrates the hair strand and moisturizes from the inside of the strand out. It may take a little time to figure out what type of moisturizers actually do that, because I know that I struggled with figuring out when people say sitting on top of the hair strand, it took me a while to understand what that actually means. But once you buy a product that does that, and then one that actually does what it's supposed to do, then it's a lot easier to tell the difference. With moisture, you have to have some type of protein treatment to go along to strengthen your hair. Moisturizers kind of soften, condition, make your hair manageable. Protein treatments strengthen the structure of the hair and fortify the structure of the curl pattern. So you definitely want to have something in your arsenal. But the reason for using a protein treatment within limitations is because of the line of demarcation. I will enter a picture here for your viewing pleasure. But essentially what this line is, it's the point where your natural hair meets your damaged or relaxed hair, and that point where it's like squiggly and then just go straight, that point in the center is incredibly fragile. Hair loves to break right at that point, and you think it'd be good, but the issue is that it can leave you with single strand knots, it can leave you with broken ends, it can leave you with split ends, it can leave you with just a lot more issues than you want at this point. So keep those ends as long as you can by moisturizing and supplementing with protein. Good. Next up on the list, number 6, is to find your style. But first, this is going to be like sub tip A. Lay off the heat. I'm going to say it again because people don't like to listen. Lay off the heat. Heat is like the enemy of natural hair. It's okay in moderation, but you can't hit your hair with the heat. I would even say on a weekly basis. Find a protective style. That could be a braid out, a twist out, even a weave. Now, I can't speak on weaves because I personally never had one. I am afraid. I've heard nightmare stories, and I would just rather just rock my own, to be completely honest. But if having a weave is beneficial to you, if that's a way for you to keep your hands out of your hair, then by all means go for it. But my recommendation, absolutely 100% make sure that you're taking care of your own natural hair, because nothing else matters in this process than your own natural hair. You have to take care of that first and foremost. Keeping your ends on your shoulders allows for friction to occur between your ends and the cotton or whatever material it is that you're wearing. This is not good. I know that I'm gonna do a wash day tomorrow, so I'm not too concerned about it. But I definitely would not wear my hair down like this every day for an extended amount of time, just because it's also gonna dry out the ends. You can see that they're kind of dry on the ends already, just from me sitting here. So that's why during my transition period, I'll insert a picture. Majority of the time, I had my hair up essentially in a bun, and I would just keep, bantu knots or just like twists or something just to keep it up. And I kept the rest all the way up. I was not playing. Number 7 is to make sure that you trim regularly and make sure that you have a plan for trimming. I trimmed probably once every other month, probably about 1 inch to 2 inches at a time. Really and truly, whatever my mother was willing to cut off was good enough. But make sure that you have a plan and you just stick to it, whether that means that you go to the salon or you have a friend do it, or you even do it yourself, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend, just to keep things even. Number 8 is to take photos often. I have found that the majority of people that revert to relaxers do so because of 2 reasons. One, because taking care of 2 textures is no effing joke. Number 2 is because they don't see the results quick enough. The long transition is a long transition. I'm talking at least a year to even as far as 3 years. If you have long hair already and you want to maintain your length, it may take you 3 years just to transition. Your hair will change dramatically, and it's good to document that process, whether you're in this phase or you're beyond the transition and you're just growing out your natural hair. It's good to document all the steps along the way, because really and truly you don't know how far you've come until you look back on from where you've came. Tip number 9 is to set a goal to go completely natural and begin preparing for those changes. Know that once you set that goal, the whole game is going to change for you. The way that your hair responded to products when you were transitioning, your hair may not respond that same way when you're fully natural again. So you just need to do a little bit more research probably, and be prepared for those changes. Okay, and this brings us to tip number 10, is to love and trust this process. Look, like I said earlier, this is a long transition and it's not going to be easy, but neither is the big chop, regardless of what it may seem like. You definitely just have to be patient with yourself through this process. If you're getting frustrated with your hair, just put it up in a bun, take a breath, drink some tea, and go watch your favorite YouTuber's latest hair care video, because there's nothing more important during this stage than motivation of other people. That's what really and truly gets you through the transitional process, is seeing what your favorite people are doing with their hair and knowing that one day you will get there too. So just love and trust this process. And that also actually brings me to my next point, which is to understand that when you do become fully natural, whether that's through the long transition or through a big chop, whatever it is, when you finally do return to your healthy natural hair, understand that that moment makes all of it worth it. Makes the whole transitional period absolutely 100% worth it. So if you were struggling with whether or not you should transition or if you should just keep going down the path that you're going and see where things go, give it a try. And then if it doesn't work out, try again, because it really will bring all the happiness that you see people on social media with. It really does happen once you've let go of all those hair habits. Thank you so much for tuning in for my transition story and sticking around to hear my top 10 tips to survive the long transition. I'm going to write out all the tips for you down below. And also, make sure to check back in next week for the third and final installment of my natural hair journey, the growth years. And then I think I'm going to do a segment on my beach staples afterward. So tune back in next week for that. Otherwise, with love, stay blessed and unstressed, my friends.